Hey everybody, John here. We're here in Maryland, K-12. I'm going to chime in on this Frederick County policy 443. Um, this has been going back and forth for a while now, and they just made some amendments to it. I got to be honest with you, I don't like it. I don't like it as a parent, as an educator, as a citizen. Basically, what it says is, and if you're not aware what it is, it basically defines how schools support. I'm looking at some of my notes over here. Schools support transgender and gender diverse students and prioritizes their confidentiality. Is the reported reason behind this policy. Under the policy, the teachers and the staff cannot disclose a student's preferred pronouns or gender identity to parents without the student's consent, except in certain safety or legal situations. It was recently amended by the board. This is what all the ruckus was recently in December of 25 to clarify language and emphasize parental access to officials if they request them. So I'll get to that in a second. They say that supporters say that it helps protect the students who might feel unsafe or not yet ready to share with their parents. And others would argue that it undermines parental involvement. Frederick County leadership has stressed its goal is to balance student privacy, safety, and parental rights. I got to tell you, folks, I don't like it. I don't like it, and you may not like that I don't like it, and I respect that. I'd love to hear from you, but here's why. As a lifelong educator, from day one, we have been instructed when it comes to classroom management, what is the first thing they always tell you? I've told teachers for years, and when I was a teacher, they would tell me, contact the parents. Contact the parents. That was what they would always say. Contact the parents. Contact the parents. One of the first books I read in education many years ago was called Making It to Friday. It's by Madeline Hunter. For those who've been around, you may remember that one. It's like the big thing. Contact the parents. Kids misbehaving in class. Contact the parents. And then how many times have you, as a teacher, gone to an administrator and say, man, this kid's doing this? And what do they say? Have you called the parents? And if your answer is no, chances are it's going to come right back and they're going to say, well, you might want to call the parents first and see if you can work something out there. And if that doesn't work, then give me a call. I've been on both ends of that. So the fact that for this major life-changing issue, we say, don't call the parents. You can't call the parents because it violates privacy. Well, I would argue, folks, that kids who are less than 18, and you want to debate the age and all that, okay, I get that, but let's say 12, 13, I don't think they're really entitled to any privacy. And, you hear the old saying where the kid, yells at his father, tells him to do something, says, well, you can't come in my room. And the father says, what? Let me tell you something. You take the door off the hinges. Say, I'll show you whose room it is. I just don't like the fact. And here's the last little tidbit. All the argument was over this. According to the policy, teachers should have access to this list of students' preferred pronouns. And the teacher should refer to it and use whatever is on there according to the child's desires. But in order, as a little safety guard, they say, well, the parents can access the official record anytime they want by going to the office and requesting it. So what they're kind of saying is like, well, the parents can see it too. They just have to go request it. I don't think so. And maybe I'm just late to the table here, or late to the party. I'm not sure. I haven't followed a lot of the intricacies of the arguments. But this list of preferred pronouns and whatnot, that is not really part of the official record, right? And besides, parents had access to these official records anytime they wanted anyway. So I just don't like it. I see where they're coming from. I understand the desire for school systems like Frederick County to feel that they need to protect kids. They need to help them. I get it. But, if I'm a parent and I find out that my kid John is going by Joan and leaves the house every day, goes out and changes clothes and is using girls' bathrooms, and they didn't. Not only did they not tell me, but they didn't tell me because they weren't allowed to tell me. Oh, God. Just think of what that does, folks. So I know they want to protect everybody. I get it. And, I just do not believe, I think the best way to protect them is that their parents do know what's going on and that we include the parents in the discussions. We include the parents. If the school wants to pretend to be, the great counselor who's going to, see these kids and is going to help them through this terrible time, then I think that the first thing they need to do is to include the parents. Now, I will leave you with this. I'm as a person who's not a counselor. I know that there are a lot of counseling rules and counseling policies and do's and don'ts that I don't know. I know that one of my good friends, and I'm going to check in with him this week sometime soon, Mr. David Glover, the controversial counselor. Check him out when you get a chance. There's a lot of those counseling best practices, and in many cases there are rules and laws. Like the kids would come in, are you going to tell my mother? Are you going to tell my father? And I used to tell them all the time. I said, you tell me? Absolutely, I'm going to tell your mother. As a matter of fact, even if you don't tell me, I'm going to tell your mother what I think is going on. But in that case, in the other case, when it comes to a counselor, I believe that the counselor has other kind of guidelines and policies to follow. They used to tell the kids, look, if you're going to harm yourself or harm others, then yes, or you're breaking law. I don't even know about breaking laws. I'm not sure. So there's a set of guidelines and principles that they would follow. I think that's separate. I really do. I think if a kid goes into a counselor's office and shuts the door and confides with the counselor, I think that might be a separate issue. But just to tell the teachers that you are not allowed to tell it to them. Again, all my opinion. I know this has been bought out. This has been played out, and I'm probably a little bit behind the late to the party on this. But I just thought I want to chime in, get on the record. I understand it. I know where they're coming from. I'm just not crazy about it. Anyway, just my opinion. Thanks. Have a great day.